Alright guys, what's going on? Hopefully everybody had a good day. Everybody's doing good in their finals. And hopefully everybody had a pretty good week so far. So today we're just going to be going over the change in you and in your peers and changing in your peers gearing towards like multicultural awareness. Alright, so first off I just want to kind of remind us about confidentiality. Remember, anything that we say here stays here. You know, don't share the stories that one of your peers tells you to somebody else outside. Also, respect one another when we're talking, and also respect the things that we're saying. All right. So let's first start off with a short little activity. We're just going to be going over our homework. So remember last week I signed homework for us to go home and ask our parents or grandparents or one of your family members about discrimination that they faced growing up. So let's go ahead and start with that. So let's go ahead, Scott. Let's start with you.
So I was talking to my parents, and something that they told me was like when we used to live in our old house, the landowner I guess he was kind of discriminating against my parents because they didn't speak that well of English, and so he'd talk smack in English, not thinking that they would really understand. He kind of like just treat them really bad. So that's just kind of what my parents told me.
Your parents know what they're saying though?
In a sense, kind of, and some of my younger siblings, they kind of understood, but they didn't really want to do anything about it because we are living, in the house, so they didn't want trouble.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, there's a lot of people that have to face that as well too. Good.
For me, one time I was talking to my grandma. She said that when she first came into America, she didn't really know a lot of English, and that people would like make fun of her for it and stuff, and she kind of had a hard time with it. And then so she'd watch like TV to try to learn how to speak English and stuff, and like when she'd go to work and stuff, she'd also like kind of try to talk to people and work on her English that way too.
It happens, and even still nowadays, a lot of students that just immigrated over, to the U.S. and they don't speak that well of English, and you see other kids will kind of poke fun at them around. But yeah, cool. Good. Thank you for sharing. Okay, cool.
Alright. So I talked to my dad, and he kind of shared a story with me. So him and his best friend, they all went out to the bars, and so I guess this guy was intoxicated. And then he was like, he said this to my dad, like, oh, show me some Kung Fu. And my dad was like, kind of confused, but my dad knew what Kung Fu was, And he was just like, oh, no, I don't want to show you that. And then he's like, oh, come on, fucking chink. So I guess that's my first time my dad, like, I'm sorry about my language, but that was the first time, like, my dad, like, encountered discrimination. So I guess my dad got kind of upset. And so kind of did, like, a little quick bar fight. And then they just left the scene. But he shared that story to me when I asked him this past weekend.
How long ago was that?
I want to say this is about the age when I was about like 2 years old.
Okay.
So this is quite a while back.
Yeah. That's like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean that happens. When people get intoxicated, they'll say stuff that maybe they don't mean, and there's always confrontations like that. And what we want to try to do is kind of avoid confrontations. So. That's one thing we're trying to learn here, to kind of like hold out against stuff like that, you know what I mean? So we don't have to face those kind of competitions. Alright. How about you, Jimmy?
My grandparents were in Hawaii, and they were like our age when the war, like World War II broke out.
Right.
And their Pearl Harbor was bombed. My grandmother was saying how when she was just working and going to work, these kids on the school bus would be yelling out to her and her friends like, "Go home, Jap."
Wow.
Yeah, or go back to Japan, or so it's a pretty. But that's when my grandparents said that. I was like, wow, that's like school children.
Yeah.
Talking to adults saying that. So,
wow. It's pretty harsh. Then. It's pretty harsh. Must be a pretty emotional time for her then, I'm assuming, probably. I mean, during that time it was pretty rough. They were in the war and everything. Wow. That's crazy. Thanks for sharing. Okay. Alright, guys. Let's go ahead and we're just going to move on from there. Thanks for the wonderful stories, guys. That's really good to hear. We all kind of know that, growing up, that we're not the only ones that kind of go through stuff. Our parents go through it as well, right, so next off, I just kind of want to go, into so our questions for tonight. So I just want to start off kind of just asking around each one of us how we've, what has stopped us from kind of bringing cultural awareness or, diversity awareness to our peers and to our, and if something has stopped you from kind of coming out of your shell about, your own culture as well. We want to talk about that, and then also, and then we want to talk about what have you, done as well for yourself to kind of come out and kind of show, your own individuality, and also to kind of showcase your culture as well. So I kind of just want to start off first explaining about myself as well, why I was reserved, and then how I actually kind of came out of my shell, starting to really appreciate my own culture as well. So me, like the biggest thing was, my parents they didn't really speak that well English. Well, my dad at least. My mom spoke pretty good English. My dad didn't speak too well English, and they're still kind of traditional at the time. When we first, when I was still younger, so growing up, you kind of see all the other kids, all the cool kids and stuff like that. You kind of just embarrassed of your parents, and then from there you kind of get embarrassed of your culture. You kind of build an embarrassment for your culture. So that's how I really became reserved about my culture, because I was kind of embarrassed of my parents because they weren't, that Americanized when I first moved, when I was here, when I was a lot younger, So then, like I said, it all kind of develops as I got older. You kind of develop and realize your own individuality and your characteristics of your culture is actually what makes you a lot more special and different from other people. And then from there, I started to really appreciate my own culture. I met a lot of friends of my own culture, and then a lot of other people outside, they'll really appreciate your culture as well. They want to get to know your culture, and you kind of explain to them, you tell them your own story about your culture, and it really interests people. And at the same time, you kind of build that, I'm proud of my culture as well now, because people actually want to know about it. And the more informed you are of your own culture, and that it just kind of brings more appreciation for yourself as well, and of your background as well. So that's what kind of really helped me to, kind of come out of my shell, is when other people start asking me about my culture, and then I can tell them, how, I tell them a little bit background on my culture, and they keep asking questions. You kind of, you build conversation from there, and then they have a lot of appreciation as well as you do once you start kind of, knowing your culture a little bit more. So, again, the question is, what has stopped you from bringing cultural awareness to yourself or to your peers, and then also what have you done to make that change, to impact yourself or your peers to kind of bring more cultural awareness. So let's go ahead and start with you, Scott.
I mean, for me, there's just some, traditions or some cultural things that, growing up, being more Americanized than my parents, that I just didn't really approve of. Mainly, just a social status of man and woman, comparing them. And so in that sense, that kind of made me feel like, I don't really appreciate it and all this. But I mean, growing up, it's not more in the sense that, for me, I started to think less about social status.
Right.
Maybe my parents don't think about it like that, but in a sense, I just appreciate because my parents kind of, taught me the same and treated me the same. And for me, I felt like it was more of just a discipline in their tradition, just to get, everybody ready for life, kind of
Right.
just like how we are in America.
Okay.
And that's how I see it.
Is that kind of what kind of brought you out too from your shell?
Um,
I mean, would you say you were pretty reserved about your culture, or were you always pretty proud of your culture?
I was pretty reserved too, because in a sense too, I guess in other Americans' eyes, my parents didn't really look like wise people, but
Right.
In my culture, my cousins, my family, they are pretty wise, and they are pretty knowledgeable.
Okay, that's good. Alright, go ahead, Carl.
Well, for me, I kind of really didn't know a lot about my culture, and I think that's a kind of just stopped me from sharing it.
Right.
And so then, like, as soon as I started learning more about it, like when I came to college and stuff, I think it's when it helped me get more out of my shell and like become more in tune with like my culture and just kind of learn more about who I am and where I come from, you know, that kind of whole thing.
Okay. So kind of like you're kind of like how I was saying. Well, I was like you didn't really know too much, and then once you kind of learn more about it,
Yeah.
then you really start to appreciate it more.
Mm.
You know, that's the thing. You know, when you kind of do that, you kind of I think a lot of people they want to know more about their backgrounds. And, you know, not everybody's just of one ethnicity.
Yeah.
Also, there's a lot of like you know interracial things that really, and so then they kind of want to know more about their own background as well. And when you just kind of show them that you can really learn about yourself and appreciate yourself more, then it kind of helps. It's like a chain effect also. All right. What about you, Kula?
So I kind of thought it through while they both were speaking. So I kind of thought about things that really kept me really reserved. So growing up, my parents always like taught me like speak. This is your native tongue. You speak this native tongue. Really understand your cultural as being like a Hmong person. So it was kind of like I still remember to this day. So I was in kindergarten, and then I think that was the very first time I encountered discrimination. Sorry. So I encountered discrimination for the first time in my life, but I didn't really understood it until being here in college.
Right.
Until like I was just kind of sitting, getting ready for lunch line, and this white girl, I want to say, she kind of just came up in front of me. She just cutted me, but she was like, "Oh, Chinese cut," and I was kind of confused in my head, and like really confused because I was just kind of like, "Wait, why is she saying Chinese?" At first I didn't know what the word Chinese was, and then I was kind of battling around, and I was just kind of, kind of lost, and I walked in front of her, and she cutted me again. And then I did it again, and she cut me again, and I finally said, "Oh, Chinese cut." And she said, "You can't do that because you're Chinese." And I was kind of like, "What?" And so I think from that point on, like I was just growing up and like going to predominantly like white school. I was just kept like I was really lost about my identity because a lot of people would just always call me Chinese and stuff. So like it really kept me away from like being proudful of like my culture being Hmong. And like what it meant to me, and then so it really took me a really long time to really understand, to embrace it. When I went to high school and then I started playing more sports, and then a lot of people were like, "Oh, we need more like more like people like you," and I was like, "People like me, like what do you mean?" So I was kind of like, "What do you mean?" And then they're like, "Oh, like who you are?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm Hmong. This is my ethnicity. This is what we did. We're allies with the Vietnam War." And I started educating them a little bit more about it. And there's this teacher, like she was really supportive of like the Hmong students on campus, and then like she really opened me up by like, "Oh, you should participate in the club, and like you should participate in like activities we do," and it started really exposing me more. Like, oh, people like this really do care about different cultures and really want us to expose ourselves. And then right at that moment, I started being more like, "Oh, okay, this is who I am, so I should be like proudful of who I am, and I should start promoting more about like my club, start promoting more about like my culture and what we do." So yeah. That's like things that really kept me reserved, but then things that teacher really opened me up.
Yeah. So taking an outside also to help you kind of learn about yourself, to kind of really appreciate yourself too. That's a big thing. Like we were saying earlier, and you kind of learn about yourself more. Other people kind of see that you're learning about yourself, and they want to learn about themselves more and how they're different as well too. All right, what about you, Gene?
For a big thing growing up multiracial, it was hard. Because English is my first language and I speak with like American accent. But growing up, I didn't see many white faces. Like it was all brown around me, and it was Guam. And so everyone spoke English, and yes, like we had different ethnicities there, but we weren't the minority. So then coming here to the States, it's interesting because then I felt like I understood how like people of color feel like marginalized. And so from there, that's when speaking up is like, okay, well, I didn't consider it my problem before growing up until I moved here. And then that showed like why I should speak up about it. But then why haven't I? Sometimes it depends. If the guy is just ignorant, then let the ignorant people be, because they're not worth my time. But if it's just people I care about and they're saying stuff that are ignorant, then yeah, you have to correct them.
It's kind of like educating them a little bit. that helps out too. You know, when you kind of educate them, it kind of brings them a different perspective from where you come from too. You know, because like we talked about before in the previous sessions, a lot of times is that it's a misunderstanding, and when they actually have a better understanding, when we kind of educate ourselves, then you know we have a better respect and understanding for other people who's going through their own differences as well. You know what I mean? Because they're different cultural backgrounds. Nice, but really good, guys. So that's really good. I mean, we've talked about a lot of stuff together. You know, about kind of being aware of yourself, being aware of your peers, getting to know your peers, stuff like that. You know, and I think I've seen a lot of growth in all of us as well. You know, kind of having like a deeper respect and a deeper understanding for our cultural backgrounds. So to just kind of end things off, guys, I wanted us to take our post test really quick. So this is just going to be the same question that we had last time, but it's just a post test now, so we're just going to be looking over it again and seeing how you changed from it, alright? Alright guys, looks like everybody's done with their post test.
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
Let's go ahead and we're just going to, so to end off our last session here, I want us to all have like a takeaway, I guess, lesson from this, alright? So we're just going to say, share one big thing that we each learned from it can be from first or second session or this last session, right? So just kind of one thing that you guys have learned. You want to go first, Cool?
Yeah, I want to go first. Yeah, sorry. Went a couple times, so I decided I want to go first this time. I think it really opened me up and made me learn a lot about myself and like coming to an understanding of like really embracing my experience of who I am and be proudful, but most importantly, like just knowing that like my experience that I went through, I wasn't alone in that. And I think a lot of people have similar things that they were going through, but similar things, but not exactly the same thing, but things that we can relate to each other.
Yeah, that's one thing. We, like you said, there's a lot of people that they don't see that other people are going through the same thing they are. That's good. You want to go next?
I think it's just understanding that regardless of your culture, you should be sensitive to other people's plight or other people's problems, because you got people here from different walks of life. How one of us owns an orchard, stuff like that. We're trying to better ourselves, honestly.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Scott.
Well, for me, it's just to always to better interpret other stories and never to really judge, because it's kind of hard for you to just judge someone without really knowing them.
Yeah, it is.
Just gotta.
Well, that's good too, though. I mean, we don't want to always judge a book by its cover, right? It takes a lot. Like all of us, like we wouldn't have known, everybody's different backgrounds by just looking at them without asking them questions, or without them sharing to us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, let's go ahead.
For me, I think it's learning, like kind of what everybody said, is that just once you get to know somebody, and learn more about the culture, that it's like now you kind of your responsibility to speak up for them and the people who are also part of that culture. 'Cause
right.
Now you're kind of like aware. You've been made aware of like the issues that culture may face or that community. So it's like now you have a responsibility in a sense, and you also have like responsibility in sharing your own culture too.
Right. That's great. That's very good. Yeah, like that's excellent points. That's like a big thing that we're trying to hit here. We want to try to kind of appreciate and also share our own, and help other people to share their stories as well. All right, guys, that's great. And this is our last session here, so
I'm cured, Doc.
I'm glad that I got to spend this with you guys, and I've learned a lot about you guys, and I'm sure you guys have learned a lot about each other to kind of go on from here and build good friendships out of here. We have a lot of deep thoughts as well, and we shared a lot of deep things as well with each other as well. So hopefully we can take this on and move on from here, also to help out your peers and also improve yourself as well, and improve your peers around you, and we can create a domino effect and help bring a lot more multicultural awareness to everyone else. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I just really want to thank you, because this really helped me become a better person, and I'm pretty sure it helped all of us to be better people, and we should continue doing this.
Thank you.
It's really helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can we do like a big group hug or something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dude,
Do it.
yeah.